From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, 11 persons killed in midnight attack on the Gong community in Oyo State, including some of the assailants. Condemnation trails deadly attack on the Gong community. Southwest governors vow to defend region against internal and external aggression. Police repel another deadly attack in Imo State, killing 5 of the assailants. Governor Zodimma says total peace returning soon. Insecurity and attacks on communities continue today in some states across the country, with the safety of lives and property now a major concern. First, residents of the Gong community in Oyo State woke up to a shocking invasion by gunmen. Police say 11 persons were killed, including some of the assailants. Then, police in Imo State said they successfully repelled another planned attack. In Owerri, some of the gunmen were also killed and a policeman injured. Up north, at least 26 persons were also killed in some communities in Bungudu local government area of Zamfara, including a policeman. Those attacks are again calling urgent government attention to the safety of lives in the country. We begin from Oyo State, where residents of the Gong community in Ibarapa local government area woke up to an invasion by gunmen today. Police authorities in the state say 11 persons, including some of the assailants, were killed in the midnight invasion. Several vehicles and buildings, including the palace of the Asigongon of the Gong town and a filling station, were also burnt down by the gunmen. According to police spokesperson Wale Osifeso, the assailants attacked the area with dangerous weapons, but a combined team of police, hunters, and vigilante were able to beat back the criminals. This attack is coming days after Governor Seyi Makinde visited the area and held a town hall meeting with members of the community. Ibarapa has been under the spotlight recently over clashes erupting intermittently between farmers and herders, resulting in deaths and injuries. Meanwhile, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde says the situation calls for calm as he appeals to residents of Gong. The governor said he was shocked to receive reports of attacks, urging them to remain calm. For the Southwest Governors Forum, the attack is horrendous, callous, and highly provocative. The governor said in a statement by its chairman, Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, that security agencies need to get to the root of the attack, while they have also directed the commanders of the Southwest Security Network, Amotekun, to convoke a joint security meeting of all commanders of the Southwest with a view to commencing joint operations in the region immediately. The statement reads in part, "We must reiterate the fact that certain elements are bent on causing friction among the peoples of this country with the sole aim of achieving a pernicious end that will stop at nothing until their set goal is realized. It is therefore incumbent on all lovers of peace and freedom to rise against this current regression into savagery." The governors, however, vowed to defend the people of the region, their property, and all legitimate means of livelihood against both internal and external aggression. They also asked residents to remain vigilant and report any suspicious movement in their communities. There was also another attempted attack in Imo State today, but security operatives repelled it. The police say the gunmen tried to access the police headquarters through works layout around Alvan Ikoku Nursery and Primary School, but were repelled. 5 of the hoodlums were killed and others injured during a gun duel with security operatives.
It's another Sunday morning in Owerri, the Imo State capital, as residents are prepared to go for church service. The news of a shootout between security operatives and gunmen around the police headquarters, Olu Road and Okigwe Road, filtered in. This is followed by another news of attack on the country home of the Commissioner of Information, Declan Emelumba, and the Interim Management Committee Chairman of Oru West Local Government, Willie Okuligwe, in Obolo-Iyejofo community. Shortly afterwards, the Imo State Police Command opens up. The State Police Public Relations Officer Bella Elkanah says the attack was successfully repelled and 5 notorious hoodlums killed.
The attackers came in a white Hummer bus, about 10 of them. They first encountered the army, who were providing what we call the outer cordon for the police. It started with the army, they pulled them down, then the police special forces also engaged them. And we were able to get the 5 of them that you are seeing out there dead during the encounter.
One of the suspects, who was arrested at the scene of the attack, confesses to be a member of the dreaded gang that has been unleashing mayhem on the state.
Since I joined them, I have seen the movement of this thing, so I don't even want it and I don't even like it. So and I told them that I will leave. So Dragon now persists that if I leave, it's like I wanted to go and sabotage them, say to shot me down.
Meanwhile, the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, has been reacting to this development. He commends security operatives and reassures the people of the state that the government is on top of the security situation.
Government will not fold its hands and allow the security and welfare of our people to be trampled upon. As long as we are concerned, we will do everything possible to step up all actions to ensure there is peace and tranquility in Imo State, and our economy will not diminish.
The state government believes that the peace that Imo residents have been clamoring is almost near, with the reassurance that there will be a breath of fresh air soon.
Up north in Zamfara State, gunmen also attacked some communities in Bungudu local government area, killing an unconfirmed number of persons, including a policeman. According to police spokesperson Shehu Mohammed, the bandits were armed with sophisticated weapons, invaded Tofa village in large numbers, shooting sporadically and killing some of the villagers. He explained that the bandits were on their way to carry out another attack in Samawa when they were engaged in a gun battle with police tactical operatives stationed in the village. An unspecified number of bandits were injured. The bandits are said to have returned to the community on Saturday, preventing the villagers from burying their own. The federal government is working on the rehabilitation of Lake Chad in order to improve the security situation in the country, particularly in northern Nigeria. That's according to the Minister of Environment, Dr. Muhammad Abubakar. Dr. Abubakar told Channels Television's Ladi Akedulale on our current affairs program Newsnight that the dwindling fortune of Lake Chad over the years is what has pushed herders to move further inland and southwards in search of water and food for their animals, which sometimes leads to clashes with farmers. He also says government is pursuing a comprehensive desertification program.
We have various programs in which the government is doing. One of them that is specifically designed to stop the desert from approaching is the National Agency for the Great Green Wall. And that is specifically designed to do that, establish to stop the desert by planting trees, different kinds of trees, especially ones that are indigenous, that can be easily maintained. So that agency is there. Its work is specifically for that and is getting funding in addition to the normal budgetary yearly funding of the ministry. The president is given additional intervention from the Ecological Fund, is given from the Natural Resource Fund. This is all to stop the desert encroachment. Then there are other programs. We have the National Reforestation Program, in which the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria, which is also an agency, is coordinating anything to do with planting of trees. It's also involved in making sure that more and more trees are being planted. At the same time, we have the Federal Forestry Department, which is under this ministry, is also involved in planting of trees. These are all efforts to make sure that the desert encroachment stops.
You can watch the full interview with Dr. Abubakar on Newsnight. It airs right here on Channels Television tomorrow Monday, June 7th at 9 p.m. The Cross River State Police Command has paraded over 100 suspects in the state for various crimes. The Commissioner of Police, Sikiru Akonde, explains that following the impact of the NSAS protests, the recently inaugurated Operation Restore Peace in the state will not leave any stone unturned in ensuring that criminal activities are swept out of the state.
What we have is a result of 109 criminals that we smoked out of different areas in the south alone, in the South Senatorial District alone. My officers who are in the Central Senatorial District have carried out the same operation, and they have with them about 58 different suspects, while the ones in the north have about 68 different suspects. What we are trying to do is, we want to restore peace, which is the mandate of the current police administration. And we are to use all tactics to ensure that peace is restored in this our region.
Onion Producers and Marketers Association of Nigeria is giving a 3-day ultimatum to the federal government to compensate its members who suffered losses during the NSAS protests, the Shasha riots, and incessant attacks on their farm produce in the southern part of the country, or they stop the supply of onions to the south. The national president of the association, Aliyu Issa Umar, gave the ultimatum today in Sokoto. He explains that the government, under the committee led by Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, promised to compensate members, many of whom suffered huge losses in Abia, Imo, and Oyo states during the NSAS and Shasha market crisis, but the promise was not kept.
After full deliberation by the executives of the National Association of Onion and the failure of government to respond to our cry, we have hereby reached the following decision. 1, we are calling on the state and federal government to restore law and order in the state. And we are calling on the good people of the southern part of Nigeria to live with the Hausa community in peace, as we are only there for our lawful businesses. We also call on state government to collaborate with federal government to set up a committee to investigate the incident that leads to the loss of life and properties of the Onion Association members. Furthermore, if the government fails to adhere to what we are saying, we are shutting the supply of onion to the entire South by Monday, the 7th of June, 2021. And there will be no truck that will be offloading onion by 12 midnight on the 10th of June, 2021 on Friday.
In part 2 after the break, flights out of school children still a concern in many northern states. We'll tell you about the situation in Borno, in Bauchi State. Plus, security in schools now a bigger priority for everyone in the wake of rising abduction cases. We'll also look at how to achieve this. Our data analyst, Babajide Ogusonwo, will be our guide. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us to watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. 11 persons killed in midnight attack on a Gong community in Oyo State, including some of the assailants. Condemnation trails deadly attack on a Gong community. Southwest governors vow to defend region against internal and external aggression. Police repel another deadly attack in Imo State, killing 5 of the assailants. Governor Hope Uzodinma says total peace returning soon. And popular televangelist Prophet TB Joshua dies at age 57. The death of popular televangelist and founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, Prophet Temitope Joshua, is still a shock to many, especially members of his congregation. Prophet TB Joshua died in the early hours of today. In the aftermath of his death, members reflect on his impact on the church and the society.
With access to the inner premises denied, cameras could only capture activities outside the Synagogue Church of All Nations. A large crowd of worshippers arrived to the news of the passing of their founder, Prophet Temitope Joshua. Different emotions play up as members in clusters grapple with the prophet's demise.
I heard about this news this morning. I couldn't believe my ears. I was coming here today to confirm whether it's true. And I've come. And I've confirmed that it is true. All the orphans, all the widows, all the helpless people that you have been helping, who will help them now?
I was restless. I couldn't sleep till daybreak until I have to call one or two people that were closer to the church. Before they now told me that it's actually true.
Amidst these sad feelings, some still recall his last sermon.
Where he was preaching, the last word that come to him is, when we come to church to worship, and it's time to worship, and it's time to go home. It's time to go to market, and you return home.
Prophet TB Joshua died few days to his 58th birthday. He was known for his popularity across Africa and Latin America, aside being a televangelist and a philanthropist.
President Muhammadu Buhari has joined Nigerians to console the family and members of the Synagogue Church of All Nations on the death of its founder, Prophet Temitope Balogun Joshua, popularly known as TB Joshua. The president notes that the renowned televangelist will be missed by his followers all over the world, not only for his spiritual contributions, but for touching many lives through philanthropic gestures. President Buhari urges Pastor Joshua's followers to take solace in the knowledge that life is not measured and defined by chronological longevity, but by enduring legacies and lives touched positively. He also consoles with the government and people of Ondo State and prays that God Almighty will accept the soul of the departed pastor. Now, millions of children are being raised every day in Nigeria without conventional education and basic social services for their overall well-being. Experts are concerned that insecurity has worsened the situation, and this factor alone may deprive many more children of education. Meanwhile, the law that protects the rights of the child is pending in some northern states and not being implemented by other states that have since domesticated the child rights law. Our correspondent, Hajara Aliyu, takes a look at the predicament of out-of-school children and the Almajiri child.
Hawking is a lucrative enterprise, but when it involves a child, its viability is put to question. This family rely on the earnings Khadija and Aliu bring home every day from hawking sachet water. Aliu, who is just 10, shares the bitter experience of hawking. Both siblings have never seen the four walls of a classroom. This is the same for over 13 million children who are out of school, including the Almajiri. Away from parental care, most Almajiri end up as child beggars or resort to menial jobs for survival. Roaming all over town without shoes and unhygienic conditions are a common sight, exposing them to harmful practices, exploitation, and abuse. The ban on Almajiri system by northern governors in May last year appears to be mere rhetoric, as the system is still in practice in most states. The child rights law is also pending in 11 northern states. The rights of children to protection, education, health services, dignity, survival, among other things, are contained in the child rights law, which is yet to be adopted by many states. This delay has continued to deny many children full protection of the law. Speaker of the Bauchi State House of Assembly speaks about the contradictions in the law and what is being done.
We tasked the Ministry of Women Affairs to go and do their homework, go and do some advocacy, go and do some enlightenment, because, sincerely speaking, it's not what the people are expecting in the bill. So we asked them to go and do this so that they will bring it to us, and we also are going to do our part. We'll do public hearing, and then we'll see if there's anything that we can remove or add in the draft bill. We can do that so that we'll be able to domesticate it.
This learning center is one out of many established in Bauchi under the Better Education Service Delivery for All project, with the aim of reducing the number of out-of-school children and integrating Almajiri system into the formal learning.
Before Corona, we were able to integrate, return back about 94,000 people back to school. And after the Corona, we were able to return 64,000 people back to school.
Child experts are worried that insecurity poses a challenge to the gains being recorded.
You see, like in the northeast, this Boko Haram, so it has really hindered. Most schools were burned, and you see, most parents now find it as an excuse that take your words to school, they have such problems, and the problem of kidnapping now is rampant. So it has really scared a lot of parents for even taking them to school.
It is clear that stronger actions must be taken in the best interest of the Nigerian child. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
In line with that story, how can Nigeria get more children to attend school if those that are in school do not feel safe? A trend of attacks on secondary schools and kidnapping patterns have been volatile. So how difficult is it to secure schools in Nigeria? Babajide Ogunsonwo, data scientist and information consultant, is here to share his insights. Babajide, great to see you.
Good evening,
scribbling away as usual. Is there any acceptable reason why it is difficult to protect schools in Nigeria? What facts do you have?
There are reasons, but these reasons to the parents can never be acceptable. I would like to start with the words of Nelson Mandela. And before he died, he had said, education is the future of Africa. And so when children in schools are being kidnapped, what it really means is that excellence is being kidnapped. Tonight, there are good news and there's bad news. I'd like to start with the good news, and that's we're taking a look at the data we have on the distribution of secondary schools in Nigeria. That's the good news. Enrollment in schools. And if we look at the enrollment figures, the evidence shows that, yes, a lot of children are out of school in northern Nigeria, but a lot of children are also in school across northern Nigeria. And so the large pool of students provides an incentive for the would-be kidnapper to attack. We've seen the evidence that within the northwest region and the southwest region, we see about 5 million children who have been enrolled in public and private secondary schools. And at the moment, the incentive for the kidnapper still outweighs the risk that the kidnapper faces when he makes that attempt to kidnap. So in all, 10 million plus children who have been enrolled into secondary schools are at risk of being kidnapped. That is the good news, the data that we have on the existing distribution of schools in Nigeria. Now to the bad news. The bad news is the data that we've seen in front of us is obsolete data. What do I mean? The last available record on the number of students that have been enrolled in Nigerian public and secondary schools, the last public record was dated half a decade ago. The last public record on the aggregate number of public and private secondary schools in Nigeria, in other words, how many public and private secondary schools do we have in Nigeria per state? That record and that report was dated a decade ago.
So there are no current figures? No
current figures. Try and look for information on how many public and private secondary schools are in each of the 774 local governments in Nigeria. That report does not even exist. So the question tonight is, how do security agencies plan security when the most important detail, location of secondary schools, number of students in secondary schools, how many private secondary schools do we have per state, per local government, who exactly has been enrolled in these schools, and who exactly is attending these schools. That is the basic point that we need to start when we want to plan and improve security for our schools. And that information is all obsolete.
So then how do security agencies protect schools if they don't have this data?
And that's the reason why some of these things continue. So a lot of times what we see the security agencies do, which is not their fault, which isn't their primary purpose to get this data. These schools are classified as private schools and secondary schools. And that is exactly what we need to do. Institutions need to take more responsibility in being able to account for what exactly is going on within your state and within your local government. We could look at the example of the United States, for instance. When in the 80s, they didn't have a school kidnapping problem, but they had a bank robbery problem. And what did they do? They followed the data. The FBI special agent that was in charge of following that data then was William Rader, and he said 3 words: understand the landscape. And without data on schools and students, there is no way security agencies will be able to understand the landscape.
How then do we understand the landscape of security at secondary schools?
So the first is to be able to look at that landscape which I'm talking about, and in specific look at the area, and we then have to rely on even using this obsolete data to understand what is going on. And then once we have current data, we'll then be able to provide an updated statement of fact. But if we look at the landscape, and here's where I want to focus a bit on, what exactly is going on in southern Nigeria. And using the data that is available, there are 4 classes of how easy it is to protect a school in southern Nigeria, and those are the 19 states. Lagos State has an average of 175 schools per 1,000 square kilometers. What this means is that Lagos State has the highest concentration of schools within a region. It makes it a bit easier to protect because you have a lot of schools within a concentrated region. It makes it more effective and efficient for security agencies to deploy to areas where schools are not scattered around, where schools are concentrated. And in southern Nigeria, Lagos, Imo, Anambra, and Abia State are classified as being relatively easier to protect. Category 2 has Osun State, Akwa Ibom, Enugu, Ebonyi, Ekiti, and Rivers State. These states are not as easy to protect based on the concentration of schools because you have schools more scattered about, but they are still easier than the other 2 categories. Category 3 has Oyo, Cross River, Ondo, and Bayelsa. Bayelsa State has only about 34 secondary schools scattered across 1,000 square kilometers, and Category 4 has Ogun, Delta, and Edo. Let's look at what's going on in northern Nigeria, and that shows quite a huge difference. Yeah. We see in Category A, Kogi, Nasarawa, Abuja, Gombe. Those states are classified as being relatively easier to protect because they have a higher concentration of schools per 1,000 square kilometers. It is more effective again and more efficient to protect schools that are closer together than schools that are further apart. And we see those red states from Taraba State, Benue State, Yobe, Borno, Zamfara, Bauchi, Sokoto, and Niger State is the most difficult state to protect. The reason why Niger State is the most difficult state to protect is Niger State has the largest land mass, and based on the distribution of schools, it has only 6 schools per 1,000 square kilometers. And that is the challenge. We have a lot of schools that are scattered around, which makes it tougher to have effective and efficient
Hopefully
security.
the rights authorities are looking at this data that you have provided and will do the needful. Babajide, always a pleasure having you here.
And in final analysis, let's not
News at
forget,
10.
when children are being kidnapped, what it really means is that excellence is being kidnapped.
Sadly. Thanks again for being here.
The pleasure is all mine.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the People's Democratic Party caucus in the House of Representatives threatens to take legal action against the federal government over the suspension of Twitter. Join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. The Office of the Attorney General is a very critical one, and the time has come for the country to de-emphasize political considerations fulfilling such a role. That's the view of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Bode Olanipekun. In an interview with our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoyele, Mr. Olanipekun believes that this is one amendment that should be seriously considered. He says putting professionals in such positions will go a long way towards moving the country forward, as decisions are more likely to be based on public rather than political interest.
I do not think it should be held by politicians or members of political parties. I believe that the Attorney General of the Federation and the Attorneys General of states should not be political party members, or if they were members of political parties, they should resign their membership of political parties before being sworn in as Attorney General of the Federation or Attorney General of the state. Let's leave it as purely professional. Because, look, you're making so many judgment calls as Attorney General. You're making calls, for instance, to continue to initiate prosecution, to discontinue prosecution, and quite a number of things. So you don't want political considerations to color your judgments in making those calls.
The long-standing conflicts in the northeast have negatively affected communities, with villages razed and thousands displaced from their ancestral homes and forced into a life of refugees and eternally displaced persons. Michika in Adamawa State is one of such communities which has suffered devastation and become an occupied territory for the insurgents, but for the intervention of the military who liberated it, setting the stage for the return of its people. As part of efforts aimed at peace building and reintegration, the Michika community has organized cultural festivals to help create unity and peace through culture.
Culture has been described as a way of life of people encompassing language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music and arts. It is also a strong weapon for unity by bringing people together at each stage of peace-building process. And for this reason, the people of Michika community are holding this cultural festival to give hope back to the people traumatized by insurgency. Sons and daughters of the Kamwe-speaking people of Michika turn up in their thousands to celebrate the cultural festival, the young and the old as well. The event is tagged "There is Strength in Unity." Two important events are being showcased: the cultural dances by different dance groups and masquerades. On display is the rich heritage of hand-weaving of clothes, pottery and calabash design, among others. The chairman of the event says the people have long waited for this day.
Kamwa land is big, with many groups and different subcultures associated with their locations. But the culture generally does not significantly differ. We are blessed with lots of cultural dances, music, and other cultural activities. And these are the things we are witnessing here today.
Some of the community leaders express optimism that despite the damage done by the Boko Haram elements, the people have returned to pick up the pieces of their lives.
Some of our people went through abroad, and by the time that we are there in some communities, we learned their culture, and also we have learned how to be composed with ourselves. And we thank God, after some months, we are back to our community.
You can see numerous people that are coming from the different wards, even from the neighboring local government, from Madagali, from Mubi. You know, they are here with us. And this is what we expect by extension that will happen across Nigeria.
This year's event, originally scheduled for April, was cancelled due to threat of an attack by the Boko Haram elements. The success of the 5th edition of the cultural festival is indeed a proof that normalcy has returned to the once troubled communities of Michika in Adamawa State.
Well, politics now. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP's caucus in the House of Representatives, has threatened legal action against the federal government over the suspension of the operations of Twitter in the country. The leader of the caucus, Kingsley Chinda, said in a statement that the subsequent directive to the National Broadcasting Commission to license social media operators in the country is a surreptitious attempt at introducing the unpopular social media bill by mere executive fiat. Mr. Chinda described the action taken by the federal government as a grave violation of the doctrine of separation of powers and an erosion of the rule of law. The statement reads in part, "It is worrisome that at a time when the country faces a real existential crisis and totters on the brink of implosion from acute challenges such as widespread insecurity, manifesting in banditry, kidnapping, and the activities of armed non-state actors across the Federation, coupled with the parlous state of the economy, resulting in the ballooning inflation and massive youth unemployment, the federal government appears to be more preoccupied with stifling the right of Nigerian citizens to freely express themselves on social media and elsewhere." The group says it is giving the government an event of the failure of refusal and neglect to withdraw. That if it says if the government will not withdraw its ban on Twitter, it will take legal action against it. Well, staying with that story, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has appealed to the Commonwealth to hold the Nigerian government to account over what it terms the unlawful suspension of Twitter in Nigeria. The organization said in a statement that the Secretary-General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, should urgently consider recommending the suspension of Nigeria from the Commonwealth to the heads of government, and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, as head of the Commonwealth, should push the government to take concrete measures to respect and promote the Commonwealth's values of human rights, transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. The organization adds that the Commonwealth Charter recognizes the right of individuals to participate in democratic processes through peaceful exercise of their freedom of expression and access to information which apply both offline and online. SIRAP also asked the Commonwealth to publicly condemn the suspension of Twitter in Nigeria and put pressure on the government of President Buhari to reverse the unlawful suspension. It urged President Buhari to respect freedom of expression and withdraw the threat to prosecute Nigerians for freely exercising their right through Twitter. To other matters now, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have intercepted 37.3 kilograms of illicit drugs and arrested 7 persons at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The illicit substances, including cannabis and heroin, were intercepted from the suspects who tried to import or export the illicit drugs to the United Kingdom and to Italy. According to a statement by the NDLEA, one of the suspects, Agudozie Peter, made attempts to bring into Nigeria 76 pellets of cocaine weighing 1.6 kilograms. 36 pellets were concealed in his underwear while he excreted 40 pellets. Meanwhile, the chairman of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, commended the officers of the airport command for their tenacity and commitment to the mandate of ridding the nation of illicit drugs. Amidst the rising insecurity and separatist agitation in some parts of the country, the National Youth Service Corps is insisting that the indivisibility of the country remains sacrosanct. At a National Peace and Cultural Festival at the NYSC Orientation Camp in Kaduna State, some members of the scheme are of the opinion that Nigeria will remain stronger as a united country in spite of its present challenges.
Platoon number 9, enjoying their song. The future of the nation is in our hands.
When the General Yakubu Gowon regime established the National Youth Service Corps after the Civil War ended in 1970, the aim was to bridge ethnic and religious divisions and foster the spirit of nationalism as part of the Reconstruction, Rehabilitation and Reconciliation post-war program. Sadly, in the light of renewed clamor for secession, it is evident that the country is far from settling its national question and attainment of true nationhood. Worried by this development, members of a National Youth Service Corps in Kaduna State are using a peace and cultural festival to appeal to those calling for the breaking up of the country to sheath their swords, stating that Nigeria is stronger as an indivisible entity.
When I was at home, I've been hearing a lot of bad things about the Northerners, how the North is. But my coming here, I felt so welcomed. I felt so happy. I've never felt this happy in my life. They love us. The Northerners are actually very nice, and the North is actually a very nice place to be.
Since the day I stepped foot in this very NYC, I realized that Nigeria is a one entity, it's a single entity. Despite the diversity in our being, politically, socially, from our various backgrounds, but there is this one binding force that's joined us together.
While highlighting the importance of peaceful coexistence and tolerance among the various ethnic groups in the country, the coordinator of the National Youth Service Corps in Kaduna State describes those calling for the scrapping of the scheme as people who do not understand the essence and importance of the scheme, which has continued to unite many young Nigerians, irrespective of where they come from.
These corps members came from diverse culture. If the spirit of the National Youth Service Corps would be imbibed by all Nigerians, there will be peace and unity in this country.
As Nigeria battles to tackle insecurity and other socio-economic problems, these Nigerian youths, by their actions, are urging those calling for the scrapping of the NYSC to have a rethink and embrace national cohesion as being demonstrated here at the orientation camp.
The Edo State Police Command has confirmed the arrest on Saturday of 23 young men suspected to be cultists ahead of a planned procession to celebrate one of their leaders' birthday. The spokesperson of the Police Command in Edo State, Superintendent of Police Bello Kotongs, explained that the command had set out to investigate after it received information from a member of the public that some young men, armed and dressed in white and black attire, were seen gathered around Sapele Road in Benin City, the Edo State capital. He says the young men, on sighting the police, opened fire and destroyed vehicles around the scene.
There was a little fracas between the operative of the Nigerian police yesterday with some young men, along Sapele Road, close to Rock of Ages Church. The police, acting on information received from a good indigene of this state, that he observed some group of youth gathering and carrying arms with them. So he put on a call to the control room of the Edo State Police Command, where through the directive of the commissioner, we mobilized operative from the crack units of the command, the anti-kidnapping and anti-cultism were deployed immediately into that place. Upon arriving there, on sighting the police, the young men, which I at that time called them hoodlums, begin to fire at them, destroying some vehicles. Thank God no life was lost at the side of the police. So at the course of it, some 23 of them were arrested. When we investigated and we interviewed them, they say they were about to going on a procession to celebrate their leader, which is was born on the 6th day of June. So they are celebrating 6/6. On further investigation, we find out they are a group of cultists whom are dressed on white and black to go on that procession. So at the process, the police arrested 23 of them, which still effort is on to arrest more of them, and their arms also, that the police will recover the arms to the station. I still use this opportunity to call upon indigenes of this state to always give police credible information such as this, in order not to arrest innocent persons. This kind of information is very important.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservative Party has won in the last regional test before national polls in September, and a boost to Armin Laschet, who hopes to succeed her in September's national election. Laschet, long-serving premier of the western state of North Rhine-Westphalia, is seen as having made an uncertain start to his election campaign and had been facing calls to chart a more right-wing course to win back voters disenchanted by Merkel's 16 years of centrism. State Premier Rainer Haseloff had presented himself as the candidate of the centre, around whom those opposed to extremism could rally. The Christian Democrats of Chancellor Angela Merkel won 36% of the vote in the state election in Saxony-Anhalt, a former part of East Germany. It did much better than opinion polls had predicted. The far-right alternative for Germany took 22.5%, after nearly equaling the CDU in the opinion polls. Britain's Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the UK would delay fully lifting COVID-19 lockdown restrictions on June 21st if the data suggests it. His comments come days after Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he could see nothing in the data that will derail the plan to end lockdown restrictions, although caution is needed. Here's the global update.
The Prime Minister and I and the team will be looking at all of the data over this week.
Mr. Hancock says there has been a very significant impact from the Delta variant of COVID-19, first detected in India over the last month, which is now the dominant strain in England, according to official estimates. He pointed to a renewed rise in COVID-19 cases, but said he had been reassured by a broadly flat rate of hospitalizations and deaths as officials consider plans to end the lockdown.
The number of hospitalizations.
Israel has begun vaccinating teenagers between the ages of 12 to 15 against COVID-19, despite a health ministry announcement last week saying it had found a small number of heart inflammation cases observed mainly in young men who received Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine in Israel were likely linked to their vaccination. Pfizer said in a statement that it was aware of the Israeli observations of myocarditis and said no causal link to its vaccine had been established. More than 763 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered across the Chinese mainland as of Saturday, so says the National Health Commission. China's capital of Beijing had administered more than 32 million vaccine doses for more than 17.44 million people as of Saturday. China aims to vaccinate to 80% of its population between the end of this year and the middle of next year, according to the Chinese Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Finally, India has reported 114,460 new cases of COVID-19 over the past 24 hours, up to Sunday, to add the total tally to over 28.8 million. The number of single-day increase was the lowest in the past 2 months, so says the Federal Health Ministry. It reported 2,677 deaths since Saturday morning to add overall death toll up to 346,759. Buckingham Palace has released a statement saying the Queen, Prince Harry's father and his brother and wife, Prince William and Kate, are delighted with news of Meghan and Harry's second child, a baby girl. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced her birth today. Named Lilibet Lily Diana Mountbatten Windsor, she was born on Friday morning in a hospital in Santa Barbara, California. The couple said in a statement that both mother and child are healthy and well. They said they named their second child Lilibet after the royal family's nickname for the Queen, the baby's great-grandmother. Her middle name, Diana, was chosen to honour her beloved late-grandmother, the Princess of Wales. Serena Williams' latest quest for a record equaling 24th Grand Slam title has ended with a 6-3, 7-5 defeat by Kazakh 21st seed Elena Rybakina in the French Open last 16 earlier today. The 39-year-old American, still one short of Margaret Court's all-time record of most Grand Slam singles titles, has not gone beyond the fourth round at Roland Garros since losing the 2016 final. Russian-born Rybakina extended her best run at a major as she advanced to her first quarter-final, where she will face Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova for a spot in the last four. Roger Federer has withdrawn from the French Open despite having reached the fourth round. The 20-time Grand Slam champion confirmed in a statement that after discussions with his team, he is pulling out of Roland Garros today. The 39-year-old says after 2 knee surgeries and over a year of rehabilitation, it is important that he listens to his body and makes sure he does not push himself too quickly on the road to recovery. Federer was scheduled to face Matteo Berrettini for a place in the quarterfinals on Monday. The desire to retain the capacity to carry out daily activities without undue fatigue has become a major concern for many. To achieve this, many have taken up healthy or health-oriented sports activities like exercises. But this report takes a look at the importance of setting fitness goals.
All over the world, fitness buffs troop out in their large numbers on weekends to exercise and have fun with friends and family. This roadside in Isolo, a suburb of Lagos where people gather for the purpose of fitness, is no exception. The World Health Organization recommends that adults aged between 18 and 64 should do at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate or intensive aerobic physical activity. Concerns about varying degrees of health issues have made many to set fitness goals.
Before I came here, I had issues of, for example, in my house, I find it difficult even to climb my staircase. A little eight-story building staircase, I'll be panting as if I'm going to die in the next minute.
To keep myself fit, to stay young and healthy, and my blood pressure, to keep my fitness. That's all, just to keep myself strong and be fit in everything.
Fitness experts help measure progress and dispel some notions about requirements of keeping fit.
It doesn't cost any money to stay fit. It's something you can start on your own, and if you feel like, okay, maybe you're not enjoying it on your own, you can look for a place or gather some of your friends, you go out and exercise, just like what we do here. We started with a very few number of people. I started with them, but now, as you can see today, we have a lot of people coming out.
You don't need money, or you don't need expensive gym machine or other things for you to keep fit. You don't need it at all.
It's important to have fun while you're working out with sound, because it enables some people to have that endurance to train more. Music actually motivates a lot of people.
One thing is certain. Achieving fitness goals will indeed have immediate and long-term health benefits for everyone who indulges in it.
And the main news again. Police authorities today said 11 persons, including some of the attackers, were killed in a midnight attack on the Gong community in Oyo State. The governors of the region have condemned the attack and vowed to defend the region against internal and external aggression. Also today, police repelled another deadly attack in Imo State. 5 of the assailants were killed in the attack, while Governor Hope Uzodimma said total peace will return to the state soon. And popular televangelist Prophet Temitope Joshua died today. Many Nigerians, including the president and members of his church, have eulogized the philanthropic and exemplary life of the founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations. That is all on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.